3 years ago, we visited Saudi Arabia, and now we are back.
Today, we're gonna get into everything that happened during our trip, after our trip, things that we haven't shared before, and we're gonna show you what it's like to visit Saudi Arabia today.
2025.
We're Oskar and Dan, and in February 2022, we did a big trip around Saudi Arabia, going all across the country. They had just introduced tourist visas in 2019, and given the delay from COVID, international tourism was basically a brand new concept in the historically secretive kingdom. Nowadays, though, Saudi Arabia seems to be on a non-stop course towards change, making big strides to open the country up to the world and modernize while trying to retain its culture and central place in Islam. So, how much has changed since our last trip, and what went down after we posted our videos? We have lots to share with you, so let's go straight to Dubai Airport, where we are about to fly to Jeddah.
Hello from Dubai Terminal 2, where we are about to fly to Saudi Arabia. That's it.
Okay, let's go.
So you could say that it's night and day between how we felt going to Saudi Arabia 3 years ago versus now, because we are not nervous at all. Back then, we were truly so nervous.
We have had a lot of problems trying to get flights to Saudi. It's been 3 years. Our conclusion last time was that it was a fascinating, fun visit, but it wasn't really ready for tourists.
Yep.
Now, it's the F1 this weekend in Jeddah where we're flying. It was so confusing to try to find flights. Anyway, we'll get into it later, but it's...
We're gonna tell you everything once we get to Saudi.
Why, hello! From our hotel that looks like it has been around for hundreds of years, was actually opened in 2008, which is crazy, but this is, talk about a cultural experience. But apparently this used to be the palace for the brother of the king of Saudi Arabia, and now it's a hotel, so we assume this is a real chandelier, for example. No plastic here. This is just so funny. I mean...
This is very likely one of the craziest hotels we've ever stayed at in our travels. We audibly gasped as we walked into the lobby earlier. The check-in agent told us all the gold is real gold, 64 kilos worth. I'd say this is one of the first indicators that we're actually in Saudi Arabia. For men, there's a gym or a health club. For women, there's not. There's only the spa. So, I don't know. Does that mean men can't use the spa? And there's no way for women to work out? I'm not entirely sure, but that's what it seems like. All right, we're both way too tired to talk right now, so we'll see you in the morning. And good morning.
We are in a palace. Whoa!
Should we move here maybe? Maybe this is where we should settle actually.
Yeah.
This palace.
I don't think we should even entertain that idea. Anyway, yesterday was so funny when we landed because
It was
you could
crazy.
tell.
I mean, I had probably one of the most fun immigration experiences I've ever had, because as soon as I stepped up to my immigration agent, he goes, "Oh, you're the YouTuber." And I was like, sure, maybe, yeah. And then he goes, "Oh, I watched all your Saudi Arabia videos." And I was like, "Wow, really? And you remember that from 3 years ago?" And he was like, yeah. He's like, "How's your friend?" I was like, "My friend, this guy?" No, the friend you met." I was like, "Oh, you mean Hassan, 16-year-old TikToker Hassan?" We have a crazy story about that. We'll tell you later as well. Such a crazy welcome. He was so nice. Very unusual immigration experience, I
Yeah,
think.
one thing that is so funny too is I think we've wondered since we were here last about were we exaggerating when we said it was like the most dangerous driving and road we've ever experienced. And yesterday I would say we were about this far from a major accident in our car from the airport to our hotel, about 10 times.
Yeah, maybe
So-
20 times.
Yeah. So nothing's changed on that front.
Yeah.
We're about to head out and see, I mean, last time we saw some parts of Jeddah, but we didn't see everything, obviously. So
Yeah.
there's so much more for us to experience. We're heading out now to do that before the race tonight.
We're gonna try to
Qualifying.
get as much in as possible.
If you like staying in luxury hotels when you travel that maybe are a bit more modern than this, guess what? You can get incredible benefits even with no hotel status. You can get free upgrades, breakfast, early check-in, in late checkout a $100 property credit of the likes of Four Seasons, any Marriott branded hotels, Hyatt's luxury brands, Hilton's luxury brands, Banyan Tree, One and Only, Raffles, Fairmont, and more. The way to do it is to book through a travel advisor. And when you book through a travel advisor, you actually get the highest priority of any booking mode for upgrades, so even higher than status. But the crazy thing is, travel advisors also let you take advantage of your status benefits, and you can also earn points and elite qualifying nights. What am I getting to here? You can now book this through us. We offer you travel advisor benefits at just some of these hotels, to mention a few. But if you're looking for any kind of luxury hotel stay anywhere in the world, give us a try and go to the link below or scan the QR code here, and we will make sure you have one of the best luxury hotel stays you have ever had. And by the way, it costs nothing extra. It's the exact same as the best available rate, so you get all these perks with no extra cost. All you're doing is getting an even better experience.
Never in our lives before have we seen a curved escalator. This is wild.
Cool. So, it's fascinating to see a beach here. We've never seen a busy beach.
Not quite.
In Saudi before. If you've seen our videos before, you know I wear a lot of sun protection to the beach.
Larry David right here.
So yeah, so I kind of feel like, honestly, I prefer this way of the beach because it removes all the sexual undertones of going to the beach. It's just like being anywhere else, but you're in the water. I am in the water. Yeah.
No. I always love being by a really cool body of water. The Red Sea is just one of those bodies of water you don't really see very often. So just being right here, right now, is really cool.
Right across this body of water is Sudan.
And it's not far away either. Port Sudan is a 35-minute flight away from Jeddah. I love this concept. I've never seen like a roll-out carpet before.
Okay, just crank it, I guess, and the carpet goes in and out.
In and out. Very convenient.
Try to find a seemingly hidden restaurant for lunch.
So we just flew in from Dubai, right? And I'd say the temperature here is probably like, it must be at least 6-7 degrees hotter, and it's so humid. It's crazy. We were not prepared for this at all. This is a very cool little complex. Let's see if we can find the restaurant.
It is.
No, it's not.
Wait, upstairs maybe. Up here.
I think we went one floor too high, so we went into a different restaurant, and the woman in there was so cute. She was like, no, it's downstairs, but very good to see you.
So cute.
I think the most difficult thing about Saudi for us, I mean, well, definitely not the most difficult thing. One of the most difficult things is that it's such a nocturnal culture. And I remember being so struck by this the first time when we landed in Riyadh 3 years ago, that there's no one out and people don't really come out at all until like 5-6 p.m. And we are such morning people, and we go to bed at like latest 10, sometimes 10:30, 11 p.m. We don't really fit in in that sense.
Oh my gosh, the smoothie tastes exactly like the smoothies my dad makes.
No way. That's nostalgic. While you're on the phone with Saudi Airlines.
It's so good.
We love checking out and supporting vegan restaurants around the world, as you know. And yeah, this was, I would rate this. This is the second location of this place. We went to the original location 3 years ago.
So considering where we are, I'd say it's very good.
Yeah.
It's tasty, it's healthy.
If you want this kind of food, then this is the go-to place, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, it's completely... But yeah, like we said, it's completely dead. There's not a single other soul here.
Oh, I'm tired. I didn't sleep so well last night. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, neither did I.
And it's very hot out.
We're dreading going outside. Okay, so after our Saudi trip 3 years ago, a lot of things went down in the few months after we posted our videos, things that we haven't ever shared before, so we thought in this video, we might as well share that with the world. So the first thing that happened was that our videos went more or less viral, especially in Saudi Arabia. So if you watch those original videos, you'll know that the second video was from our sort of road trip in the north of Saudi, where we unexpectedly ran into Hassan, 16-year-old Hassan at that time, who invited us into his home, and we spent like 3.5 hours eventually with him on his parents' farm. And it was one of the craziest travel experiences still that we've ever had.
And the video was so warmly received, I think because of his hospitality, of course. And in the end, that ended up getting shared all over social media. We actually also made a reel, I remember, that did very well.
And that reel ended up being shared all over Saudi Arabian Twitter. Apparently, we later found out a few weeks afterwards. And that's where things got a bit interesting as well, because people started, debating in the comments, should people like this be allowed to come to our country? People were saying, yes, of course they should, as long as they're respectful while they're here, that kind of thing. And
some people were saying that, some were saying the opposite.
Some were saying the opposite. And I think in the moment, it was definitely a bit scary for us to kind of be the center of that discourse. But we think ultimately it was a very good thing that happened, that those discussions were being had, because they wouldn't have happened otherwise.
What ended up happening, the first update we have regarding Hassan, within a year after our trip, I'm not exactly sure when, but people were sending us that he got awarded by the Saudi Ministry of Tourism for exceptional hospitality or something like
displaying Saudi hospitality to the world, that kind of thing.
Which is crazy. So he was literally awarded for his hospitality toward us, which is pretty cool that we got to share it. And I think he's pretty happy that we made that video too, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And he is apparently TikTok famous now. So, but I think the craziest thing that happened in all of this, and we haven't really had this confirmed yet, that this was mostly, I guess, because of us, but we think now we have it sort of confirmed. About a month after we posted, I guess, the last video. I don't remember quite how we realized this, but somehow...
I have no idea how we realized it either, but basically on the official Visit Saudi Arabia tourism website, there's an FAQ section, and part of that FAQ they added a month after we were there, and it says, our LGBT travelers welcome in Saudi Arabia. And on the official website, they say this, which is crazy when you think about no other country in the entire Gulf says something like that explicitly online. So it's very cool to think about meetings being held, discussions being held.
The fact that people in this ministry have actually had these discussions talking about this, let's add this to our website. We also just want to say that we're not encouraging or discouraging anyone to go to Saudi specifically, or to any country for that matter. We think that's a personal decision, and we're just presenting the facts surrounding our trip as they happened. We have personally never wanted to let any part of who we are dictate what we can do or what we can achieve in life, and that applies to travel as well. Sadly, none of our Saudi friends live in Jeddah, so we couldn't see them this time, but they've told us as well that for them too, seeing their government recognize this issue, even just on a website like this, feels like a meaningful step in the right direction, and it's part of a broader sort of sense of progress on the issue. So yeah, that's coming from them directly.
Again, we've always felt like people are very friendly toward us in Saudi, but even 3 years later, I think maybe not that much progress has been made in terms of preparedness for tourists. And I think a big thing is the e-visa, which we were stressing out about the first time, but the fact you have to pay over $100 and apply online for an e-visa when almost every other country in the Gulf lets you enter visa free if you're from Europe or the West, which is where they want to attract tourists from. There's just a few hurdles that you still have to jump through that I think a lot of people will be like, well, okay, I'll just go to Jordan instead, or I'll just go to Dubai instead, or I'll just go to Oman instead. Saudi really seems to want this. They have the potential, but we'll see in another 3 years.
Maybe.
Yes, how much
time for another video.
Come.
And with that, let's head back out. So we decided to check out Red Sea Mall because people were saying online that it's like one of the best things to do in Jeddah. So we normally don't really go to malls when we travel, but now we decided to check it out. And It's so funny because one of the things I remember reacting to when we came to Saudi the first time was the prevalence of American fast food chains. And up here in the food court on the top floor, it's still like that. I guess it was just so funny to us back then that Saudi Arabia would have more American fast food chains than Sweden. But now that we spent so much time in the Middle East and in the Arabian Gulf and everything, it doesn't feel weird at all. So it's just like a lot can happen in 3 years and you can learn a lot in 3 years.
You can definitely say that this mall is a lot more bustling and active than the mall we went to in Riyadh, where we complained that there was no one there.
Only in this region and Japan and Korea, pretty much, will you see people leave stuff like on their table at cafes, like car keys, to reserve the spot.
Yeah.
And not worry about anyone stealing them. I guess the most common point of reference that people would have in the GCC would be Dubai as a place that people have visited. So to compare being here in Jeddah now to being in Dubai, I'd say the biggest difference is just that it feels a lot more Arab still. Given that the Saudi population is just a lot bigger than the UAE population, for example, you just meet a lot more people. You see a lot more people, first of all, dressed in traditional clothing, but then also in service professions, you actually meet locals versus in Dubai, for example, you meet mostly people from South Asia or the Philippines. And on top of that, it just generally feels a lot more like when we visit any other country in the Middle East. But other than that, it actually doesn't feel that different, which is interesting. And I think when we first came here 3 years ago, so much of our perception of the country was actually in our minds because we see it with very different eyes, I think. And we see it just like a country like any other in a way, if that makes sense. And we're off for a night on the town.
Well, not really, but the reason we're here.
As we probably mentioned in the intro to this video, Dan was invited to an airline event here, which is happening in conjunction with the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It just so happened that we apparently are getting passes to it, and I know that for a lot of people this is probably worth its weight in diamonds.
Well,
and
we really appreciate it, and luckily I would say we're fans of F1. I just love this. On the back of our ticket it says motorsport is dangerous.
It does?
Thanks for the warning.
Okay.
It's just really crazy now at night to see this very luxurious side of Jeddah, because I feel like we actually haven't had a taste of this level of nice. And this is all obviously very new for Saudi Arabia, I think. We just found out that Formula One started here in 2021. So that's very recent. Everything is brand new.
This was such a cool moment, especially for Dan, as he became the first person not part of the airline to see these new seats in real life.
Now, the reason we are really in Jeddah, besides the F1, well, the main reason we're here is actually thanks to Saudi Arabia's new airline, which is launching flights very soon, Riyadh Air. They will not be based in Jeddah, they will be based in Riyadh. But
I mean, go figure.
Yeah, I have an airline review channel, if you didn't know already, Non-Stop Dan. I have some friends at Riyadh Air who have very kindly invited us to be the first people in the whole world to get to see this seat in person. I haven't been paid to be here, I haven't been paid to say this, but I can't say I'm not biased because I really like the people working at Riyadh Air, and I think it's fine because the airline hasn't even launched yet, they don't exist, so.
Saudi Arabia is a country that until very recently wasn't even open to tourists. It was a very secretive country, it was a very traditional and conservative country. In many ways it still is, but it has changed so much in recent years. And I think being here at an event like this, you can kind of see how big those strides are and how much more open and sort of forward-looking the country is becoming very, very rapidly. So I think that's just really cool to see.
And I think the big takeaway here is that I would much rather go to an event and show support of a country advancing and going in the right direction than with a country that perhaps is going in the wrong direction. You're not gonna name any names, but yeah.
I think something else that I want to add to what we said at the event, we love seeing a place become more open, more inclusive, more forward-thinking, like we said. And I think a lot of people in the West associate those values with the West, but I would argue that those are not really Western things at all. And I think even for people in this region or in many regions around the world, they see this openness, inclusivity as like a Western thing or something that's part of Western culture. But I think on the contrary, Western culture is actually quite not open, not very inclusive. And we definitely see that now with this sort of recent pendulum swing to the right in the West, that really our culture is not all that open and inclusive in its core, and it's really just like a very recent phenomenon.
Throughout our culture, there are little windows and pockets of time when people are open. And I think the success of our show is a part of that openness. Now, obviously in the late 70s, there was an openness with dancing, but those windows close, they open, they close. It will close again. It's not always that way.
You really think it will close again?
Absolutely. That's the history of mankind.
And you have to work from somewhere to reach the ideal goal, which is openness and inclusivity for everyone. And we're not going to get there if we keep shunning countries or keep excluding them. Obviously, we have to condemn violence or things that deliberately hurt marginalized people in any country. But when, we judge other places, we have to keep in mind where we're standing as well.
Last night was obviously absolutely incredible. The cool thing was pretty much us, a few Westerners working for Riyadh Air, and then just Saudis. We didn't know who most of them were, but we asked and they're like, oh, just some princes, princesses, ministers. We're like, okay, casual. But today we are gonna enjoy a lunch here in the Yacht Club, and then we are gonna go to the Grand Prix and we're gonna spend all day in the Paddock Club. It's funny because this is kind of turning into a bit of a F1 vlog, which wasn't on purpose, but we didn't really realize we were getting Paddock Club and we didn't even fully fathom what that meant. So now we're suddenly very excited.
This is what's so unbelievably cool about the Red Sea. The diving, I can imagine, must be amazing because the fishes, even just here, are so colorful, super cool. Yeah, I really wish we had time to go snorkeling or go diving while we're here. Maybe next time. And look at how clear the water is. It's just insane.
As two mostly non-drinkers, it really doesn't bother us that Saudi is a dry country. In fact, not gonna lie, we find it pretty nice. The story behind why it's dry though is fascinating. The kingdom banned alcohol in 1952 after a drunk 19-year-old Saudi prince murdered the British vice consul by shooting him at a party. It's a crazy story that you can look into more if you want. Last year, however, in an attempt to fight black market imports, one alcohol shop was opened in the diplomatic quarter in Riyadh, but so far only non-Muslim foreign diplomats working in the country are allowed to purchase, and they can't bring any alcohol outside the diplomatic premises. And so it was finally time for the Grand Prix.
Alright, let's do it. Careful with that. It was like you put on slow motion.
Yeah. We didn't quite realize how massive the area around the racetrack was, so the first step was to drive in a golf cart to where we would actually watch the race.
So we are heading into the Paddock Club. We've been driving for probably 20 minutes at least within this area, so we're super excited. We think it's going to be insane.
If you know nothing about Formula One, this might seem like the most random thing ever, but as moderate fans coming into this and as super legit fans leaving the event later on, we really recommend watching a few episodes of Drive to Survive on Netflix to see if you get into it, because it's a really fascinating world that goes far beyond 20 guys racing each other in fast cars. Some people love the technology and mechanical aspects, some people love the intrigue and dynamics between the drivers, some love the international aspect and how the race travels around the world, and some just love Charles Leclerc. Because how could you not?
So we've been here about 2 minutes. We saw Kimi Antonelli just arrive. So we're gonna stay tuned. There's like a camera team, so we figured that whoever they're looking out for and people are taking selfies with, that's where we should look.
No, poor guy. You don't realize just how massive this place is, and just the Paddock Club. It's like Pandora's box. Every time you get to a new floor, you're like, how is it this big on every single stage of it? It's just wild.
Before the grand final in the evening, other races were happening on the track. Here, the female F1 Academy.
What? Watching Drive to Survive, you don't quite fathom how fast the cars are going. And you watch it and you're like, I could drive that. And now I'm like, slow down. I'm like, this is insane.
Okay, so apparently the F1 Academy is the all-female Formula 4 level of racing. And it was started 2 years ago to increase female participation in motorsports. So that's so awesome. Someone please explain what all this means.
Another crazy thing we got to witness.
So we're currently waiting for Max Verstappen to come out and have an interview.
Pretty crazy, actually.
I would ask, I know you're all very excited to see him over there, guys, but please make his entrance into the suite nice and easy. He's giving us 10 minutes on his day.
For these young guys waiting for Max to arrive, I think this is like meeting Beyonce to them, you know? So we gotta understand how big of a deal this is.
Ladies and gentlemen, driving for Oracle Rebel Racing, I want you to put your hands together and give a very warm welcome to four-time world champion Max Verstappen's in the house, everybody! Max, welcome to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. How are you, first of all?
Yeah, very good. Happy to be here.
I bet you're feeling pretty good after last night. That was an incredible pole position, that might I add. 100th of a second in it.
Then came probably the coolest part of the day.
Okay, it's time for the pit lane walk, which we're so excited about. We're gonna get to walk past all the different garages.
The track tour.
Oh, the track tour.
While the 10 teams were preparing their cars in the garages, we got to walk along the pit lane and see all the team members get ready. Something we hadn't really considered before is just how huge of an operation F1 really is. Each team has up towards 100 people who travel to each host city for the event, meaning almost 1,000 people will need flights and hotel rooms for the weekend, and that's excluding all the journalists, spectators, and so on. And this is when we got super lucky and ran into two amazing and kind viewers from the Mercedes team, and they let us inside their stall and we got to see the car and everything else up close. Thank you so much, guys, for this opportunity. It was simply the cherry on top of this amazing day. Go Mercedes!
So it's great to see another startup Saudi here.
Okay, and what about racing here? You have won the first race here, right?
Thoughts and feelings heading into this one?
Yeah, definitely a very good starting position.
Yeah, hopefully we can have a good one. Fingers crossed.
And by a complete coincidence, we walked past just as someone else casually pulled into the event.
Peace up, A-Town.
Hello!
Okay, this might be one of the craziest days of our lives. Not gonna lie.
What an insane experience to watch this in real life. Seeing the race was fun, but as with most of these things, it's everything surrounding the main event that makes it special. All the buzz, excitement, interviews, activities, and all the amazing people we met especially. And from an Oscar with a K to an Oscar with a C, congrats on the win. Today's video has been both lighthearted and serious, which quite honestly reflects what this trip to Saudi was like. We hope you enjoyed this updated view into the country, and if you haven't done so already, we encourage you to watch our original videos from 2022. We've linked the playlist here on screen, and you can save the videos to your watch later for when you're ready to sit down and fully take in a fascinating viewing experience. Thank you so much for watching. Shukran wa ma'a salama, and until next time, as always, see you around the world.